mechanics and tuners and wrenchers and some guys who are definitely, not in a main company and not collecting a paycheck and not having unemployment insurance. And it took months and months and months for unemployment for independent contractors to kick in, and a lot of people it didn't even kick in for at all. So, hats off to all the tuners and mechanics and guys in the industry who are kind of, not in the limelight, who stuck it out through this. And so, the whole industry suffered as a whole, but, I was thinking about everybody involved and all the mechanics on our team and everything, who got hit hard by it. So
the timing was just terrible. Because it just, for a lot of us that have been in the industry for a while, you just know between November and February, you better put some money away or vacation time or whatever. You better put some cash resource away to get you through that 3 or 4 months. And, for a lot of us, it's like, okay. Yeah, it's like you get into January, we're racing. A lot of the winter series were starting to wrap up. ChallengeKarting.com, they dropped their last race because it was supposed to be at Sonoma, and Sonoma said, no, we're closed. And they postponed it a couple of times and finally said, wait, we're just going to call it because it's not fair to the racer to keep postponing. And they couldn't plan around not knowing anything. And, so you get into February or March, and a lot of us are sitting there like, wait a second, we socked away a little bit of money for the winter because we had to, but we were expecting to be busy from February back to November. And, here we are in July.
Right. Yeah, nobody had enough, momentum to build a little, nest egg up from the winter. And as soon as the winter was over, then this hit. And so you're right. That was a big hit for a lot of us.
Yeah,
who couldn't recover from the winter.
What does someone like you do as far as, so I mean, you're in a race car, and how much time do you spend? I don't. There's no diplomatic way of putting it. Chasing the dollar, chasing money to keep you in a car. How much time do you spend doing that?
It blows my mind. Like when I chose this career, I wanted to choose something that, where I wasn't stuck in a cubicle, I wasn't in an office, but then as I started to pursue this thing, I realized quickly, oh my God, 90% of race driving is, spell check and sponsorship proposals and Photoshop and letter composition and run-on sentences, all the stuff that I failed in high school. That's all I'm doing now is on the computer and working the mean side of the finances and trying to put together the packages and enough momentum to make a season happen. A lot of it. It's not that much, but it is most of it. Definitely more time than you are in a car.
So you don't just show up to the track with your helmet and umbrella girls just swoon to you and go, "Oh, Nick is here." That's not the racing lifestyle.
That's as any driver knows. There's not race team owners calling people to come drive for them. It just doesn't happen. It's 1%, and it's at the very top. I mean, you have to fight for every, just to get a sentence to a team owner, just to get him to lend you his ear. It's so tough, and it's one thing I quickly learned is how important it is for you to do all the work to get yourself in the car. You're not going to get the phone calls. You have to make the phone calls yourself.
So what piece of advice would you give to that driver that isn't destined to be in a car because they don't have the check behind them already, but they have they have the real dream and ambition and the true ambition to move through the motorsports ranks? What's one or two pieces of advice you could give that person that might be listening?
To, even though it's awkward and it's scary, it's the scariest thing to look someone in the eye and tell them what you want with your heart, and to not be shy or bashful about it, is to look someone in the eye and to speak your heart. It's very tough because it makes you vulnerable. It feels awkward. And if we do it, sometimes we're soft about it, but to confidently believe, if you want something, enough, you should be able to, confidently tell someone that. And it's tough to do. And sometimes we do want it, enough, but we don't have the courage to speak about it, which is difficult. So to finding a way to do that, and you can practice that, and you can, work on that. But that's the thing. I think the biggest thing in life is finding out what you want. The toughest thing for me was I didn't know what I wanted. And if you know what you want in life, I think you're already big steps ahead of some people, because a lot of people don't even know what they want, and that's a tough thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you ever had? I know you've had no's, so it's that just comes with the territory. But have you ever had a no that eventually came back and turned into a yes?
Yes. I'll tell you what, guys, there are people that have given me thousands of dollars just to shut me up and leave them alone. Because I would
That's
not.
That's why I'm hoping for this show.
It's like they're either going to pick up the phone to give me a check, or they're going to pick up the phone to the police and file a restraining order. I'm surprised I haven't had a restraining order on some of the people I've bothered so much. There's been two people where I felt like they just gave me a tiny bit of money just to shut me up. And
do you want to give them a shout out?
But absolutely. Let's see. Bruce Canepa. I bugged him forever when I first. He's a legendary sports car driver. He's got a shop in Scotts Valley. I bugged him for years and years and years, and he finally sent me a couple $100 just to shut me up. And I was just, it was for karting, just trying to get my foot in the door. Who else? I don't even know.
Did it have a note on the check, "Don't call me again" or anything?
No, it should have.
Or maybe deep down, he just really appreciated the perseverance. Yeah.
For every 200 no's, there's a maybe, and if you can look at it positively as every no is closer to that yes, just keep at it. And for years and years, I struggled on what sponsorship proposals were supposed to look like or what they are. I thought that there was like a standard format of what something was or how you put a deal together, or I learned that there isn't. And I used to stress on for weeks and months on what a proposal would look like, or how, if I was doing it right, and instead of just getting content out there. And I think that's the most key, is if I can offer some young drivers out there, is just get the questions out there. You ask and tell people what you want. If you tell the world what you want enough, the door's open. So
yeah, that's a great point. Because I do watch, I kind of follow and listen to a bunch of different YouTubers on just various subjects. And that has been one of the things they keep coming back to, is just persevere, keep doing it. And one of my favorite marketers is Gary Vee. And his big thing is just do it. Just get out there, just do something. Don't worry about being perfect, because it doesn't matter if it's perfect if you don't get it out there.
Right. Exactly. That's what I did at first, is I stressed about if it was right or if I was doing it correctly, and I wasted months and months and months. Instead, I could have been getting more things out there. So just get it out there. Tell the world what you want over and over and over again. And
you refine it as well, right? So, you're sitting there, you're sending out your marketing packets, you're calling people, and I can't imagine what your first couple conversations sound like. They had to be terrible. And then you refine it. You write yourself down a note, and it's like, wait, don't do this next time. And I imagine you built a portfolio. Yeah,
it self-cleans itself, because you start to realize, if one person tells you yes for something, you realize what worked, and then you kind of just build off that, and it just gets better and better and better, and you understand the industry more, and what a crazy industry it is. I love it. It's awesome, and you're a big part of it too. You don't know that, Jason, but you've always been a good guy through the years. And I remember one of my first days karting, and not just bugging you for little things on how to mix my oil ratio, and I'd ask you almost every day, and how to bleed brakes and chain tension, and you rolling your eyes over the years. So thank you.
But you know what?
Thanks.
It's one of those things I have to remind myself. We all, if you're in the sport long enough, we've all had a day one.
Yeah.
And I remember my day one. I missed my main event because someone stole my neck collar. And in hindsight, someone probably stole my neck collar because I skirted around the fuel line, because at the time it was an IKF race, and you're supposed to go through this pump-around fuel system. Well, I didn't know. I said, fuck it, I got fuel in my gas tank. I'm just going to the grid. Well, I roll up to the grid, and my neck collar is missing. It's like, well, what's going on now? Then I kind of look back in hindsight. It's like, well, I just skipped around everybody. I didn't go through the fuel system. Being in the sport now over 20 years, like, yeah, that's kind of a big deal when you skirt tech.
Yeah.
But I didn't know.
One of my day ones you were involved in, and I didn't. So I think I had a motor, and I stuck it I was just doing track days, and I stuck a motor, and I was going to do my first race, and I had my motor rebuilt, and I got the motor back, and I mounted it up, and I was getting all ready, and I did my morning warm up, and I noticed the motor was getting kind of sluggish, and it may have been you. And then you're like, well, how much oil did you put in the gearbox? I'm like, no, well, I put the oil in the gas. I put 6 ounces of oil in the gas. And you were like, how much did you put in the gearbox? I'm like, there's oil in the gearbox? There was no oil. Long story short, there was no oil in the gearbox.
Yeah, not in yours.
And, no. Luckily, the assembly lube, in the gearboxes and the Honda shifters were pretty bulletproof, but it survived. But I almost blew up an engine with no motor and no oil in the gearbox.
Yeah, that's an expensive one.
Yeah,
too.
we've all had a day one. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all had a day one, and it just it's you try not to be that old cranky guy that doesn't have the time to help anybody. And at the same time, you also want to be helpful without having to answer the same exact question 30 times a day. And that's part of the Norcal project. It's like, okay, getting that information out there or finding the companies that have that information. I'm always pointing people to SwedeTech's website because they have a bunch of tech pages on there. It's like, here you go.
It's unbelievable. That tech page on SwedeTech is so helpful. I wish more companies would do that, and just the basics.